All right, Nick, let's talk about the Florida Gators. I think the Gators are on a excellent trajectory. We're talking about a lot of big stuff. We've talked about what they've done in the recruiting game. We just talked about the expectations with this team, a full season with DJ Lagway. This team is projected to skyrocket and be very, very good this year. I think that people are underrating how good they're going to be, but it's not just the offense and what they've been doing. There's a key thing they've been focusing on that I think is going to help them on the defensive side of the ball in somewhere that they struggled very, very badly in the last couple of seasons. We'll get into all of this and break it down in just 1 second. But first, I'm Andrew. That's Nick. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, this Florida team has really been focusing on their weaknesses. They took time to figure out what they were doing bad and how they can change it. And I think we're starting to see some really interesting stuff. But before we can get into what they have changed, we have to see where they were bad and where they were, going the wrong direction. So let's bring up our first chart here, talking about the Florida Gators and coverage. Their coverage grades have been very bad the last couple of years, especially when you rank them amongst other teams in the college football realm. Let's look at this first. The blue bar graphs here show their ranking, and folks, you may think, wow, they're killing it, but in fact, bigger is much, much worse for the Florida Gators here. We look in 2023, they were actually ranked 111th in coverage. That is very bad, in case you were wondering. You really want to be, top 10, top 20 minimum. They were 111th in 2023, and so much better. They got all the way up to 108th in the college football realm. There's not even, there's the group of fives teams that are coming in here and blowing Florida out of the water with their coverage rankings the last 2 years. And we can see a trend, though. You see this orange line going downward as well. That shows their focus on the DB recruiting, their quality of recruits they were getting in the defensive back department each year is going downward over those 2 years. They had 90.4 overall in 2023, and it drops to an 89 in 2024. And that might seem, okay, but on average, when you're looking at three-star guys average out at like an 88. So if you're averaging three-star recruits as your best coverage players coming in at Florida, it's not that good. That you really need to have a much better coverage unit to compete in the SEC. So now to the good part, we can finally see how have they changed this? What have they done for 2025? What are they doing for the future? And that is what brings us to our second graph. You can see a stark jump, a absolute skyrocket with this 2025 class, showing where they are now. And I think this is really a great job by Billy Napier and co, showing what they're able to do, going from 89, which we said that's three-star type of stuff, all the way up to a 92.8 average. They're averaging high 4-star, low 5-star, guys, averaging that kind of stuff. You look at the next season, 2026, class isn't even done yet, but they're almost a 92 again, 91.6 grade for them there. Very, very different from where they were before. They have got a good thing going in the DB recruiting game. Much, much higher ranking prospects for them. I think this is a team that is on the right trajectory, looking really good. They've got 4 guys here in this 2025 class, all over the grade of 90. Some guys 97, 95. Really, really talented recruits. I think Ben Hank's going to be great. I think Drake Stubbs is going to be great. I think we're seeing a much, much turned around, defensive backfield for the Gators, and I'm excited to see what it does because on top of a full season with DJ Lagway, on top of all the great recruiting they've done in general, really boosting themselves up the ranks, this is a Florida team that I think is finally back into the fold. We did a story earlier, just in the past month, talking about how they're starting to dominate the state of Florida again, beating out teams like FSU and Miami for the best recruits in the state of Florida. This shows they're getting better where they were bad. Coverage, I think Florida has a really great trajectory going on here, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out on the field on Saturdays. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick, but before we get to you, Gators fans, in the comment section below, enough bad, let's talk good defensive backs. Who are some of your favorite Gators defensive backs of all time? a lot of great ones. I think, a couple come to mind recently, but this is a team, a lot of talent there in that backfield, and I think they're getting back to that way as well. But let us know in the comment section below, who's your favorite Gators defensive back of all time in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on everything going on here for Florida?
Well, when it comes to the Gators, and we've talked about it, and a lot of people have, DJ Lagway is such a superstar in the making, such a great player, strong finish to the season. And of course, Napier led that strong finish as the head coach. Program trending in the right direction. So there's a lot of positive energy, a lot of positive vibes. But what's positively bad about this Florida team, or at least it was last year, was defense. They had the second most yards surrendered on a per game basis in the SEC last year. They were bad at stopping the pass, they were bad at stopping the run. Not a good defensive team at all. And that's something obviously they're going to need to correct, because you want to avoid what I've started to call the LSU problem. Because I feel like every single season, LSU, at least over the past 4, 5, 6 years or so, has had great wide receivers, good quarterback play, they can score a million points, and then they win 9 games, right? Best case scenario, win 10 games, best case scenario, right? They don't make any noise, they don't make a deep playoff push, they don't win the conference, right? They lose all the big games, right? That's exactly what has happened down in Baton Rouge. And that is the one concern right now, if you're in Gainesville or a fan of this Florida Gators squad, is okay, we're really good on offense. We've got a great quarterback. Things are piecing together on that side of the ball. Things are really clicking there. We got some momentum. We got some juice. We're heading into a big season. We've got to make sure, both this year and going forward, that our defense just isn't terrible, right? Now, obviously, you want it to be elite. You want it to be a championship caliber defense that you can lean on. But when you have a great young quarterback and an offense that's trending in the right direction, sometimes it's about just not being bad on defense. And I think Florida obviously last year struggled large parts of the season, large parts during games against, to be totally honest, sometimes some inferior competition, or at least in games where they should be playing better defensively. They didn't get it done. They've made some great changes across the board, coaching staff, recruiting, transfers to improve this team. Things are trending in the right direction. But I think when you brought up the data there, the emphasis, the focus of this program to go out and solve that problem, or at least the coverage aspect, that is so important. Because one of the things that can happen is, and I brought up LSU a second ago, I'll throw another program under the bus. How about the USC Trojans? For a couple of years there, their head coach, Lincoln Riley, offensive guy, quarterback guru. They're all about recruiting offense. They're all about recruiting playmakers, receivers, quarterbacks. And then suddenly they can't do anything on defense. They're terrible on defense. They waste Caleb Williams. And then when they have a down year on offense, suddenly everything falls apart because their defense was always terrible, right? And now they're kind of retooling everything. Florida right now, give them credit, before the wheels fell off, which of course could have happened with Lagway having a great season and having to win games 48-45, like they had, like the USC Trojans had to do with Caleb Williams, like LSU has to do every single season with their offense, whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Jane Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier this season and the year prior. I think this Florida Gators coaching staff and Billy Napier, give them credit for recognizing that they have to spend more calories and more focus on defense. They've got the shiny toy in DJ Lagway. They would feel the temptation, I'm sure they certainly are, to put all their eggs in that basket. Just go out and recruit, transfer wide receivers, transfer tight ends, recruiting high school receivers, high school tight ends, running backs, O-line. Focus on that. Make sure you get the highest quality in just those position groups, and just surround your young stud quarterback with all the pieces for him to put up 50 a game. While that would be fun, that would be incredibly tempting, that doesn't win you championships. That doesn't win you conference championships. It doesn't even get you into the playoffs. LSU and USC have proven that. You need to make sure you are good enough on defense. You don't have to be elite. You don't have to go out and be a top 5 defense in the country. We'd love to have it, but you don't have to be that. You have to have at least some reasonable baseline of performance. Florida was far from that in 2024, but based on the moves they made, and just as importantly, their strategic orientation to solving the defense, I think they'll be in a great position to return to respectability on that side of the ball in 2025, and pair that with the improvement and the continued emergence of DJ Lagway. And folks, you're looking at a very dangerous Florida Gator squad.
Yeah, Nick, and I think that's the key here. This is team just getting back to basics. And we can go all the way back. Like, when's the last time Florida won a national championship? Is that like 2008, somewhere around there? Let's look at the recruiting class they brought in then. Can it help? Are those guys that are, comparable to this? We look, who are 2 guys that came in that class? Guys people are probably familiar with. Safety, Will Hill, heck of a player, did a lot of great stuff. Then cornerback Janoris Jenkins in that class as well. So I think Florida really is on the right track. Got to focus on the defensive back room. You really got to get a lot of guys in there at a high level, bring in some recruits with some really top grades and keep on it. And we've talked about this. Other teams across the National Football League across college football are doing the same type of stuff. This is what you got to do, but you can't let your foot off the gas. And I think that's what Florida did the last couple of years is they went in, they had this plan, they had this, idea of what to do, but in 2023, 2024, they really let their foot off the gas when it comes to coverage grade and, their ability to go out and do just a great job in coverage really fell tremendously because they weren't focusing on getting the right guys into this school. And I think, it's prevalent. You see it all the time. It happens. They were much better in 2022. They were in the top 20 in coverage in 2022. Much better team at that point in time. But you see the last couple of years, things falter off the right track. I think we're going to see them return to form in 2025 in the out years as well, because it already looks like in 2026, better focus on it as well. They're keeping their foot on the gas, saying, hey, we did a great job in 2025. Let's not backpedal. Let's not keep going in the wrong direction again. Let's keep it going forward like we did here. So I think Florida, they got it figured out. I'm excited to see what they do. And I'm excited to see these guys hit the field on Saturdays because they have a heck of a unit coming into this 2025 class.